Blog Talk Radio.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we are live. We are on blogtalkradio.com, and we are live on YouTube. The YouTube channel is Daily Shot Media. We are Daily Shot Media, and this is Daily Shot Talks. I'm Barry Gadbois in the Western Massachusetts studio near the birthplace of basketball. Cameron Robbins up on the North Shore of Boston in the North Shore studio. Dan Gadbois checking in from the Capital Region studio at Albany. Dan, how are you today?
It's actually warm in here today. It's a balmy day for the Capital Region, so it's a good day. Yeah, I'll take it.
Right. I just want to point out you sound really good. You sound great. Yeah.
I don't think that sounds good, but that's fine. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm hearing something completely different, and I'm fine with that. You know, my life is a series of things that are completely different.
This might just be as good as it gets, Caleb. This might just be me.
Okay.
Wow.
Good.
516-387-1866 is the telephone number to call into the program. 516-387-1866. You can also find us on Twitter at Daily Shot Talks. Don't forget to go to the Daily Shot Media page on Facebook. Throw us a like. That page is kind of languished, but we're going to get some fresh content up there. And DailyShotMedia.com is back online, where you'll find links to our YouTube channel. You'll find some blog content and some other really cool stuff that we'll probably think of later, you know?
Yeah.
Dan, how's the site looking?
It's good. It should be up relatively soon. Not super fancy. I expect some feedback will help us make it perfect, but it's exciting to be back up and running online with some new content, some old content, some good stuff on there.
All right. Well, so listen, we are 28 April. We're closing in on some deadlines in terms of the coronavirus pandemic that has swept the world. 180 countries, as Trump says. Nobody's seen anything like it. Never seen anything like it. Couldn't even imagine it.
It's a beautiful virus. It's a beautiful virus.
Well, it's this silent killer. It's brilliant. It has certainly impacted everyone. I think in the first world, certainly, from Europe, China, Eurasia, Asia Pacific, New Zealand, Australia, and certainly here in the United States, where we've been locked down for about 6 weeks now there, Cam?
I guess we figured this out. Yeah, something like that. It was right after my son was born, actually. I got out of the hospital just as the pandemic hit and we got locked in. So he's 10 weeks old. So I'd say 8 or 9 weeks.
So are you enjoying being locked in with a new baby?
No, not particularly.
Yeah. Okay.
There's about 3 million total confirmed cases of the COVID-19. We just crossed over the 3 million mark worldwide.
I'm sure the New York Times had some confetti or something that they could blow off to mark the occasion. Now, in some states, like in Georgia, we know that Georgia, although Trump says he's not happy about it, they have effectively started to reopen. You can even go get a haircut or a tattoo, or some cinemas have opened. I saw one cinema that opened last night with a screen in their parking lot. So it's almost like a drive-in. But people have to do the social distancing.
Why can't we just open drive-ins?
Well, because we closed them all.
They don't exist anymore?
Very few, I think.
Yeah, there's one up here. I think there's one in Western Mass, too. That's about it.
I know that there's one in
do
Mendon.
some reconnaissance. Go out there, check it out. So you can watch a movie.
Count on me.
I mean, I think this is a great way to bring that old staple back, like drive-in theaters. This is the perfect way to do social distance. Everybody stays in the car, right? You dial in with the FM, and you get the sound coming in through your speakers in the car, and you can watch a film.
Well, back in the day, you had the box. You put the box on the car and then drive off.
I think they got rid of those in 1975. But this is a great way to bring this back. Let's bring this back. Like, who's not doing this right now?
And I know that there's up in New Hampshire at the Lake Winnipesaukee, right by Weirs Beach, there's a drive-in. They've been talking about closing it for years, but maybe this is the year that they have a big boom.
Resurgence, as they say.
Would you go, Cam? Would you go to the regular theater right now?
Is anybody else in the theater?
Sure. Let's say it's half full.
A quarter full, and I'd go.
A quarter. All right, Dan, what's your threshold?
In a hazmat. I'd be in a hazmat.
You'd hazmat? Wow.
Yeah, mask, gloves, disposable clothes that I can burn.
I would not pay to go to a movie pre-COVID, so I'm not sold on going to a movie during COVID. So.
But that's just because you're cheap.
I mean, come on, man, it's crazy.
Oh boy. You'll enjoy our guest. By the way, Friday we'll be live at 3 o'clock again on Blog Talk Radio and on YouTube, Daily Shot Media Channel, with a movie expert direct from Hollywood. So we'll have a lot more conversation about this on Friday.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
I think it's fun to sort of compare and contrast the way that different states are managing this. So one of my favorite states and one of my favorite governors is Greg Abbott down in Texas. And they've announced a sort of a phased reopening plan. The governor had a press conference yesterday and said effectively that it's time for Texas to go back to work.
Just as we united as one state to slow COVID-19, we must also come together to begin rebuilding the lives and the livelihoods of our fellow Texans.
Wow, that sounded inspiring, didn't it?
I mean, Texas is one of the least hit places in the U.S., so sure.
So here's the governor of Massachusetts. I want to compare and contrast this with the governor of Massachusetts. Let's listen to the leadership clinic that Charlie Baker put on today.
There will be guidance that we can make available to people. And remember, this is a phased opening. Phased. It's not going to be everybody all at once. I'm sure many people would like to see it happen that way. Others might not. But the bottom line is this is going to be phased. And it's going to be based to some extent on those businesses that are most likely to be successful coming out of the gate with respect to a reopening of some sort.
Wait, what did he just say? He's going to prioritize the businesses that the state thinks are most likely to be successful?
What does that mean?
What
Locker's not going to reopen?
The hell does that mean?
GameStop's not going to reopen?
I guess it depends if the state thinks that they're likely to be successful. I can't understand for the life of me what that even means. But I can tell you this:
unconstitutional.
If you got a business that the state doesn't seem to think is going to do well, you're screwed. That's the message, right? Yes. Anybody who follows me on Twitter knows I've been tweeting this quote relentlessly. It's one of my favorite quotes. I'd like to go to Lindsey Graham for a perfect summary of this situation.
Boy, y'all want power. God, I hope you never get it.
Exactly. Thanks, Lindsey.
Yeah, I think the thing is you got to look at it regionally, and population density matters in this. Being from New York, New York City is going to be behind on this, and that makes sense. But there are areas of New York where Cuomo likes to say there's more cows than people. Those areas should be reopening now, if not already. And I'm in the capital region. There's a talk here that we're a little behind or a little ahead. It depends on what you look at. I think that Baker just to be such an empty suit on this and not prioritize Western Mass or Central Massachusetts compared to Boston is crazy.
Oh, that's a good point.
Cam,
you break the state up into 2 points, right? You have the Western and Eastern. Is he talking statewide, obviously?
Right. Right, you got to work that out because the people in Adams or in Sturbridge are probably right. Looking at this very different than people in Waltham, the wonderful area of Marblehead,
Athol.
Was that a dig at me? Was that a dig at me? I'm not near Marblehead. Was that a dig at me? Is that what you're saying?
No, not at all.
No,
that's not at all.
You're saying because my wife is from Marblehead? Was that another dig at me? I think that's what you're saying.
Hey, if your wife's from Marblehead, that's great. That's great.
Did you just call him an Athol?
No. By the way, a week before the restrictions are lifted, all of Marblehead will be open no matter what. I'm sure.
Well, listen, I mean, the reality is, and I've said this before, I didn't agree with this in the beginning. Then they scared the crap out of me just like everybody else. So I said, I'm on board till May 4th. You got about a month and a half to figure this out. I'm done after May 4th. And I think as the weather gets nicer, Tal Duvall is going to find out that most people are not playing along anymore.
Yeah. How's New York doing?
Not great. Not great at all. Cuomo said today the Capital District is behind much of the rest of the state, while we have Albany County has an incredible 10 patients in ICU right now. So.
Oh, seems like a rather low number.
Yeah.
Well, I think you have to understand that there's a formula here. As Baker said at his press conference today, models are models. So, everything is happening over the next 2 weeks. Remember, in 2 weeks, well, just in the next 2 weeks, May 14th or 18th, it'll be the next 2 weeks.
Oh my goodness.
Let me ask you this, Cam, you just talked about being a dad. Would you be afraid to take your kid to the park right now?
No, outside is fine.
Right.
Yeah. You can keep your distance.
Would you go to the Chuck E. Cheese?
No, and I don't think I'll ever go to Chuck E. Cheese, by the way. Something about.
Did you know that you can get Chuck E. Cheese on Grubhub, by the way?
Really? Is somebody asking for that?
I saw it on Twitter the other day. Somebody tweeted about it, and I said that can't be true. And they screenshotted it.
I haven't had their pizza since 1984, so I couldn't tell you if it's still good or not. And, if they want us to the show, I'll tell you it's amazing. But as
I
of
would
right
eat
now,
it like crazy.
Is it good?
It can't be.
No, it can't be. It can't be worth doing something else over. Oh, Grubhub.
516-387-1866. 516-387-1866.
The wife and I are doing a lot of takeout right now. We're trying to support businesses and employees who are slaving away over at the, whatever it's Chipotle or Magic Mike's sub shop or something like that, or our local pizza shop. These people still are working and they're doing a great job. So I feel, she's a little crazy with the sanitization of these things. So we take precautions, and we have a separate area, and we have to scrub everything down, and we wash our food with soap and water. The pizzas.
How do you scrub
and stuff
a
like
sub?
Also, where's Magic Mike's subs? If you could point me in that direction. I'd like to apply.
Jersey. Yeah, the sub you're getting at Magic Mike, you probably do want to wash down.
Washing that with soap and water vigorously.
Wait, so you wash the food?
We go to the park. We take walks, and we walk down to areas with benches and stuff like that. And I don't have a problem with that. Nobody's droplets are getting on me by being outside, especially with all the storms and the constant rain and the constant wind. So I feel fine with that.
Great.
Am I not?
Dan, what's your well, no, I'm fine. I've been going for walks, doing all this other stuff. I think we're at the point now, next week, particularly if it warms up, because the spring has been hell in the Northeast. I've got no problem with my kid playing on a playscape or, something else. We wash hands, you use the sanitizer. I've been doing that since before it was trendy. Okay. So I have no problem letting kids who are at statistically virtually no risk, right? I mean, let them do their thing.
Yeah, I've been doing that a ton. We've been walking around the neighborhood here, going to Lowe's, CVS. Obviously being smart, using hand sanitizer. I wear a mask that's required, but I'm out and about. I'm doing what needs to be done.
Well, I have a 19-month-old who puts everything in his mouth, so I have to be a little bit more cautious about that. But I'll put him in the swings and let him run around in the grass. But I don't know. It's scary times. It's all about whether the cost of having your freedom is worth the cost of being sick. And Barry, you don't seem to think that that's a high cost. So, and that's your personal opinion. Others disagree with you. If you want to check back in the archives and listen to our show from last week, we had an expert on that said that Barry was a moron. So, it is all a bit of a yin and yang.
For the record, don't take an expert for that. You don't need an expert for that.
We'll get the expert back on. And I may be a moron, but I can read the numbers, and I can see who's in the hospital, and I can see who's dying. And it ain't kids.
Oh, kids! Thank God, it's 0.9% get seriously affected by it.
Well, listen, we could go on and on about the coronavirus. And Dan, I was going to have you introduce our first guest now that we're live on the YouTube channel, but it sounds like you're screaming into a paint can. So I think I'll probably take that honor and go out to the Daily Shot
So
line.
it's not just me. It's not just me.
No, it is definitely not just you. We'll go out to the Daily Shot line and bring in our friend Billy Stetson, who owns two great businesses, the Rumble Seat Bar where I spent a significant portion of money that I made over a few years, and the Collegian Court Restaurant in Chicopee, Massachusetts. Hey, Billy, welcome to the show.
How you doing?
We're doing great, man. How are you?
Good. I hope I don't sound like I'm in a paint can as well. That was.
Oh, you sound
terrible.
fantastic, actually.
You sound outstanding. So
Sure.
where are you right now? Are you at one of the restaurants, or what are you doing?
I'm on my empty patio at the Rumble Seat, and we opened up last week for to-go orders, and we're just kind of managing that during the day. We close at 9 o'clock, and we open up 5 days a week over at the Collegian Court for to-go as well.
That's great. So now Rumble Seat was closed for a few weeks altogether?
Yeah, like 4 or 5 weeks. It was closed. We got closed down on March 16th. I don't know if that's my phone. I don't think so. But
no, I think you're
that was the
fine.
paint can.
yeah. So I was closed down March 16th, the eve before St. Patrick's Day, and we opened back up this past Tuesday. So whatever that is, that's about 4 or 5 weeks.
4 or 5 weeks. Wow.
We got the payroll protection loan, but it didn't work out kind of the way we had hoped. Or they moved the first down marker on that a few times from the time we signed up for it, to the time that it was actually implemented. So we kind of get screwed on that. All the businesses that are coming on board now with the payroll protection are in way better shape than the businesses that were signed up first.
Oh,
and that's because they're actually going to have work at some point when they're going to have their employees working, so they'll be able to have a couple of months of full employment or mostly full employment of their staff while they make some extra money, whereas we have like 10% of our employment making, 10% of our profit for 8 weeks. So it really isn't going to help out the hospitality business too much.
So take me through the first couple of weeks of this. We kind of all went through, I think, a similar thing where we knew there was trouble on the horizon, and it started looking more and more acute, and all of a sudden the hammer came down. How tough has this been for you as a business owner?
Oh, it's awful. I mean, it makes you rethink of all the risk you take going into business. That first night here in Chicopee is a lot more strict than our neighboring towns and cities. Chicopee has the mandatory face mask rules right now, and that first March 16th, Chicopee actually had police driving around making sure at midnight you had nobody left in your bars. You could just drive over to Springfield and drink till, the sun came up. But we didn't think it would last as long as it did, and now I think it's going to last longer than it's kind of being advertised as. So I'm making the best of it. We're donating a lot of food. We're doing the best we can for the community here. We've done a bunch of stuff. We partnered up with the Chicopee Police Department tomorrow. We're serving lunch over at the Bay State Medical Center. They're going to do a parade for all the first responders and the frontline workers over at Bay State. So Chicopee Police and Fire are teaming up to do that. They called me up, asked me to help out on the food side. So we'll be over there tomorrow. So just trying to stay active in the community, keeping people positive, but at the same time, very nervous about kind of the state we're in and the direction we're going as a state. I was pretty disheartened to hear the governor today, his announcement. So it's tough, and it's not getting any. I keep in contact with a lot of other business owners, especially in my business, and everybody is universally disappointed with the governor's statement today. And one thing, there's a few different perspectives here, and we want to keep everyone safe. And I hate kind of the idea that you can't have a difference in opinion on when we should open and how we should open. And as soon as you say that, all of a sudden you want to murder everybody in America. I think it's reasonable to think that golf courses, for example, could be open in the state of Massachusetts when they're open in New York and Connecticut. and that's the first step. And we're not even getting there here in Massachusetts. So I don't know where this recovery even starts, to be honest with you.
Hey, Billy, Dan Gadboy's here. I hope you can hear me all right now.
That's much better.
Just to ask, obviously takeout's a big part of your business, but what does this hurt percentage-wise for you? Are you down 20% versus last year, 80% versus last year? How big of an impact has this had on you?
Oh, I mean, I'm down 95% at the Cleveland Court, and that's probably 93% at the Rumble seat. It basically brought my business down to nothing.
Right. So that's hurt. And now you don't do Grubhub or Uber at those, right?
No. You know what? My margins are so small here. Like Grubhub and Uber Eats takes 30% of your food, so they take 30% of your profit. So for me, where I operate, I think you know from being here that we operate on really low margins on the food side, and we make money on the beer side. So
right.
we have a lot of traffic through here. We're probably the second busiest bar by volume in Western Mass, and we rely on kind of cheap food prices to keep a regular neighborhood bar in the city of Chicopee with a median income of $44,000 a year, keep it rolling.
So this narrative that we can do to go and we can stay open and we can survive on delivery, it's really not accurate, correct? Like we need to get back to in-house dining for this industry to survive.
Oh yeah, that's totally correct. There's a tiny the chain restaurants are doing really good. Drive-throughs, I mean, Chick-fil-A is like a monster. Chipotle is a really busy place. Like all those places that have huge advertising budgets and they're big corporate kind of places are going to be stronger even through this. But places like mine that are family owned, that rely on neighborhood people walking in, it's a death sentence, to be honest with you. Every week that they extend this, and you can see in other parts of the world and other parts of the country, kind of some things they can do to allow places. Like I've got a huge patio, and I don't see why I couldn't have people on our patio at a proper distance, 6 feet apart.
You might have the best patio in Western.
Fresh air.
Not to interrupt you. It's awesome.
Yeah, and there's a lot of places that have that. And so you start with, but if you're not even going to let people go on a golf course, which is like 150 acres with 12 people on it, like if you're not going to allow that, then we're never going to get out of the gates here. We're going to be, and I think you guys need to kind of think. And when I say you guys, I think people that have a quorum. The question needs to kind of change. It needs to be, what is our goal in the distancing? Because the goal, from my understanding, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, the goal when we started this was that we were really worried about the emergency rooms being overwhelmed, right? Wasn't that the whole reason for the distancing? And we saw about 1,000 graphs of curves. I thought I was in junior high again. I was looking at graphs and lines, and so that was the goal, right? We were just trying, and then we started to get some data. We started to see who's really at risk. We started to realize that if you're under 50 years old, statistically, you really have no risk. It's like similar risk to being struck by lightning, to dying from this. And then if you're over 80, especially if you're in one of these nursing homes and you've got a do not resuscitate order on your door, so you're not going to be put on a ventilator, then you're huge risk. You're like really, really high risk. So now that we've got that information, I think we should be making some different decisions. And unfortunately, you've got a governor who wants to become a senator someday or run for president. So he's going to be so cautious, like overly cautious. He doesn't want to make the wrong move more than anything else. And I don't want anyone extra to die, but I think the virus isn't going to have a vaccine for over a year. It's going to be with us. It's going to spread around. Eventually, everyone is going to get a touch of it somehow. And it just matters that our emergency rooms are not overloaded. I thought that's where we started with this. I don't know if people are are people just expecting to never get this? Is that why we're wiping things down, or I thought we started where we just didn't want this to spread like rapidly and overload our healthcare system.
Cam, I swear I did not pay him. I didn't pay Billy for this, although I might go to Rumble Seat tonight and get some Gold Fever pizza. I swear I'm not paying for this.
Teed it up right just for you. No, I think everybody saw what happened in Italy, and they panicked. You know, they saw the triaging happening in Italy. They saw the overrunning of the hospitals, and I think everybody sort of just panicked here and said, you know, we're not built for it, so let's stop it before it happens. But you know, it turns out we're doing a lot better. Unless you're in New York City.
So that was 6 weeks ago, right? And we kind of weathered that. And let's keep in mind, Italy was overwhelmed in 2017 with like the flu. They didn't have enough emergency rooms. So Italy is a poor comparison. But that was 6 weeks ago. Let's talk about now. Like, we knew about that now. Like, why now are we ramping up all that distancing stuff even more? Like, that's what I want explained, really. Like, are we trying to eradicate this, which every single immunologist says you can't do it with the distancing? It's just not gonna work. We're not closing Home Depot. We're not closing Walmart. I mean, it's just not adding up to me. I think the first couple of weeks when we were really worried about this thing, and there was a lot of unknown. Absolutely, shut it down. Let's reset. Let's see where we are. But you can look at the numbers. They get published every night at midnight. I see them every morning. This morning I looked and I saw there was another drop in Massachusetts, and then they go on TV and the governor says we're closed down, you know, longer. So it doesn't seem like the
Billy,
data.
You're exactly right. It's the same thing that I've been saying. I don't see what the governor sees, and I understand the position that he's in, but he doesn't seem to understand two things. He doesn't even seem to understand that the nursing homes in Massachusetts became a killing field for this, and he doesn't seem to understand that businesses like yours can't afford for this to go on open-ended. Let me ask you a question. In reality, how long can you keep your restaurant and your bar open under these conditions?
Well, with the payroll protection right now, I don't have a labor cost for this week and the next 7 weeks. So, you know, minus some payroll taxing stuff. But so I have a lot of my expense is being written off by the government right now, which I think is great. I really appreciate it from you guys. But that's not the way you can operate a country. There's like a whole country of businesses that are the labor is being paid for by taxpayers. We don't have the money as a country to do that. And I guess if we're just going to live our whole lives in massive debt to China, that's where we're going. I really think the question on what is the goal of the distancing, that really has to be specifically answered by people who say, okay, let's just be safe. And, you know, it's all over Facebook, and I'm not going to be a contrarian to any of my customers or people like that on Facebook, but I really want to know, like are people waiting for the vaccine? Is that like you guys don't have agreeing opinions with each other? Like, so the opposite side of that, are you waiting for the vaccine to open the country up? Like, tell me what the wait is.
Yeah, I don't think people can wait for that. I think that the reality is people are scared, and I think the media has driven them to fear at this point. So, I think we've got to push past that. I think their narrative has to change on a national level. But Billy, my question for you too, as a restaurateur, what does the other side of this look like for you? You know, do you think we're going to see plexiglass in restaurants? Are we going to see ketchup bottles and salt shakers gone? Are we going to disposable menus? You know, what does the other side of this look like? Whether it's 3 months, 6 months, hopefully not a year from now. What does that look like?
Well, the places that have already started to reopen in Europe, the way that they've been doing it, which is probably the way it'll be modeled, and some places down south I think are going to start doing it, is you basically tape off at a bar. Like, I've got 14 seats at my bar. It's a Rumble seat. You have to literally put an X on the chairs that nobody can sit in, and you'll have someone from the health department come in and spread everything around. Now, long term, like 6 months, I'm scared to even look at that. I'm more worried about just getting like open the door a little bit. For my occupancy in here is like 240. I'd be happy with like 20 people, like literally just spread them out. And trust me, the people will come. The people will come to a place like this. Like the Collegian Court, for example, is a different place because it's much older crowd. Over there, it's going to be, and it's a banquet facility. We do 3 to 5 bereavement type baby shower things every week, and really the regulation on that is going to be really, really tricky, because if you've got a family coming in for a rehearsal dinner, that's 30 or 40 people. They're all together. They're technically at one table, but what are the restrictions going to look like? I don't think you're going to go to all paper plates and plastic and that. I don't think that's going to happen. But you got a good question. Like 6 months from now, every industry, how much does this change? I mean, should it have already been like that because of the potential? I don't have a good answer for that, but I think we're going to go very, very slowly. And a lot of I think it's going to start down south. You're going to see whether or not there's another big spike when these places down south open up. And then we'll probably kind of get a reaction. You'll either get the I told you so's that say, look, it went up 10% in Georgia or Florida or wherever, and then everything's going to get shut down again. Or things aren't that bad, and then you can't keep a state next to another state closed because you lose all the business. Like New Hampshire is ready to open up. Is it fair for New Hampshire that they don't open because of Boston? If you owned a restaurant in New Hampshire or any kind of business in New Hampshire and you're closed down with very little death, and they're saying, well, we don't want to open up because Massachusetts isn't opened up yet. I mean, how does that feel for someone paying taxes in New Hampshire?
What about the other side of this? How is your supply chain working out? Are you able to still get deliveries in? Are you able to get produce and perishable? Are you having any issues with that?
No, there's just been a little backlog on a couple meat products here and there, but nothing's come down the chain yet. When you see all the closings nationwide of the big protein houses, I haven't seen much of that down the line. And actually, like, we've had toilet paper right along and paper towels and stuff like that. Like, we've been giving them away, to be honest with you, with orders. So I think people, I know early on there was people critical of even having curbside to go, but I don't think people understand that that's a whole nother distribution chain that helps the grocery stores from being overwhelmed.
Yeah. Hey, Billy, I think this is great perspective. I'd love to catch up with you again at some point. I'll come into the bar actually and pick up a pizza, and I can tell you what I really think about the governor. You can tell me. Hey, real quick, I saw on Twitter you guys are doing, which is something new in Massachusetts, some takeout with booze. So if you come and pick up your food, you got craft beer, you got some special on pizza today?
Yeah, that's right. We do 25% pizza on every Tuesday, and we are selling our beers to go at kind of liquor store kind of prices. It has helped a little bit on the, the final bill. We'd much rather have you sitting at the bar, though, cracking that open and watching Sox.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we'd rather be there too, man. Well, hey, listen, Billy Stetson from the Rumble Seat and the Collegian Court in Chicopee, Mass. We're going to hold it there. We appreciate the perspective, man. It's interesting to me when you talk to people who are in these situations, Dan, and I think you and then Cam on the supply side, you guys really nailed it. I mean, there's a lot of complexity here. There's a lot on the line. These are small businesses that people have been running and are keeping afloat right now. I mean, you heard him say he's 90% down versus last year. I don't know how you sleep at night.
Well, the thing a lot of people don't know too is restaurants are operating at probably 10, 15 cents on the dollar cash flow anyway. So if you're decreasing sales by 90% on a small margin, that's tight money.
Well, listen, we're going to continue this restaurant conversation because I think this is really interesting. I think this is the industry that, to me, it touches everybody. We all love to go out to eat. We love to hit the bar. We love to get a drink with our friends. There's nothing I like going someplace, watching a game on a big screen. You're with a group of people around you. And so that, to me, that's the singular issue that everybody, whether you're in favor of what's going on and you want to be made to feel safe, or like me, you think we're reaching theater of the absurd with this. This is something that kind of touches everybody. And Cam, I want to send you out to the Daily Shot line to introduce our next Our next guest has just dropped off the old switchboard. So hang on, let's see if he dials back in.
Oh,
It's live. What are you going to do?
I was teed up, ready to go.
I saw you winding up over there. We're gonna make the old call to the bullpen here for our next guest as soon as he comes back on the line.
Yeah, I had I want to see if he gets on here because that would be a larger avenue to tackle this sort of restaurant disaster. I mean, what else is it? It's really destroying an entire business right now.
All right, Cam, take us out to the Daily Shot line right now.
All right, hey, wow. All right, I'd like to bring in a good friend of mine, JP Fayala. He's the all-knowing owner of Imagine Unlimited Communications, and his company manages PR for a whole host of restaurants in the Boston and surrounding area. And so I'd like to get his perspective on how things are going. JP, how has this pandemic been treating you and your company?
Yeah, it's been wonderful.
Yeah? Good. Glad to hear it.
Yeah, good stuff. I mean, considering 90% of our clients are restaurants, it's been a little challenging, to say the least.
What have you guys been doing creatively to kind of try to keep these businesses afloat?
So I think most of our clients, I would say the first 24 hours, I was in the fetal position crying. And then it's stage 2. Then it's kind of what are we going to do to get out there and start driving some revenue? Initially everybody was kind of there's going to be a government bailout, or I'm going to just walk away from this. And I think that was the general sentiment for even if it was a microsecond, that's kind of what the world felt like. And then I think the next step was trying to figure out how to operate. The takeout and to-go model obviously cannot touch what restaurants were making before from a revenue perspective. But that's kind of the next step. Next step was making sure, making my rounds, calling all my clients, finding out where they were emotionally, because honestly, it takes a minute for everybody to try to figure out, where they're at. And then kind of moving into the next phase, which was kind of are you going to open? Do you want to just take out delivery? Let's get them down the menus, get them, smaller items going. And then I think that, interestingly enough, the news cycle has, then moved to, there's still a holiday coming up, or there's still someone's birthday coming up, and we want it to be special. And we're still stuck inside, but what can restaurants do to kind of provide those special needs for those clients? And again, now the news cycle has moved on to kind of getting ready for the reopen.
Do you feel that every restaurant is sort of agreeing with this, sort of the closing down, or do you think that everybody thinks this is a little bit blown out of proportion and they're ready to get back into it and open up?
I think those are the kind of conversations that you had in stage 1 of, kind of loss. And I think those conversations are irrelevant at this point. I think what it's really about is trying to figure out, and listen, it's an interesting mix between your PPP money, what revenue you can drive from takeout and delivery, and what the phases of reopen look like. So I think that there's a lot of rhetoric going on, but it's all irrelevant. None of it really matters. What matters is trying to figure out what works for whatever client you're speaking of. We have clients that have 30 locations, and then I have a single outlet that has 30 seats. Those are huge. And then, then we represent the Massachusetts Restaurant Association. So that's a whole other layer of this that the agency has had to work with. Listen, even beyond restaurants, we have fitness locations, we have spas, those guys are getting crushed too. But the innovation that I've seen from people, specific to restaurants, dinner kits, provisions, things like that, fascinating. The fitness side, leasing out their equipment. I had a client who, got a U-Haul and drove spin cycles to people's houses to save his business. I mean, it's business and life will always move on. It's kind of like what you do from an innovation perspective to make it work.
Hey, JP, Dan Gadbois here. Just a question for you as a vendor. So we just spoke with someone who owns a restaurant, but as you on the other side of it, how have credit terms been for you? Are restaurants, have they asked you for extended credit terms? Have you been able to do that? What kind of margins are you guys working on? Are you able to, I guess, is a roundabout kind of way.
So if we're getting specific to my situation, March 15th is when I started to get one or two calls of kind of like, hey, this is coming down the pike. It's going to be a big deal. And we had seen the build up. I don't know. Honestly, guys, it's my first pandemic. So I was kind of like, well, maybe this is going to be a couple folks affected by it to different varying degrees. And within 24 hours, every single client was off. Every single client. I laid off my entire staff, myself included, and I didn't know what to do. And I think I took about 24 to 48 hours to really absorb it, figure out what next steps were. And then I called every single client and I sent them 0 invoices and forgave their debt and just said, forget March, forget April, I'm going to work for free. Because I think what I remembered was before the agency was what it was up until March, which was we had a large portfolio. I started by myself and I started for free. I started knowing that I wanted to open a business, and I did whatever I could to show that I had what it took to run a business. And I think essentially that's what this is. And if you're going to process it in the most healthy way, that's what you need to do. And so I just said, listen, I am nothing without my clients. You have been devastated by this. Let me help to get you back on the track that you need to be on to make money. And when you can, if you still feel like I have value, pay me. And we'll just see where that goes. And to be honest with you,
that's bold.
Yeah, well, but I also think too, like it starts at the top. So like my exposure, obviously, like it's devastating to let your staff go. My biggest exposure right now is rent. I have a very large office in the South End, and it's very expensive. And I'm petitioning my landlord to give me a break. And if my landlord can give me a break, I can do this with my clients for a while until they get up and running. But if the vendors at the very top don't do it, it's a food chain. You literally have to have the person at the very top give you relief, and then I can give relief, and the restaurant can get up and running, and then it goes back up. Everyone starts paying them, everybody back up the cycle again. So,
everybody's got to take a haircut out of the gate, I guess what you're saying. I appreciate that. That's awesome. Thank you.
And I heard a little bit about the supply chain conversation
yes.
before I jumped on, and if I can put a little input into that.
Please.
So we might not be seeing that from certain restaurant level folks, but it is an enormous issue. There are literally farmers dumping produce in their fields and letting them rot. The supply chain is broken. Hearing about meat plants closing here and there and not feeling the effects immediately is one thing, but honestly, there has to be some due diligence research by reporters to actually report on this issue. There is so much food being wasted because these restaurants aren't open. And
it's not a problem of getting food to people. It's a problem that we have too much food and not enough people eating it from these restaurants. I mean, I know I go to the grocery store once a week now because I'm home every day and eating three meals at home. I'm running out of food constantly, there seems to be plenty at the grocery store, but I would normally eat half of my meals out at a restaurant.
Yeah, and there's actually, I mean, just to give you a visualization, if you go to the agency's Instagram, there's a great video that we put up there just recently about a farmer who is an onion farmer, and he literally is dumping thousands and thousands and thousands of onions just to let them rot in the sun because he can't get them to the restaurants. And you juxtapose that against the fact that, you know, we have lines around the corner of people that can't get enough to eat. It's a huge issue. And I actually think that, you know, as we move into this reopen in phase 1, 2, and 3, we will feel repair. We will start to move in the right direction. But the ripple effect of what we went through is enormous, and we're going to feel it for years.
JP, do me a favor. Tell people where they can find your social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Where are you on social media?
Sure. It's Image Unlimited on everything.
Perfect. Easy. They got to check it out. Let me ask you a question from a PR perspective, and I don't not name names or anything like that, but do you feel like restaurants are in a tough position, whether they're small or large? You have members of the business communities in their cities and towns or their counties, whatever level they have that sphere of influence. Do people feel like they have to take a PR tack on this, even though maybe they feel like they're open and they're ready for business and they feel safe? Is there some game being played for them that's tough?
I don't know if I understand your question.
Do you think, let me ask you this, your clients, if they could open up for business tomorrow, would they feel safe doing it, and are they okay saying that out loud?
Okay, so I think everyone wants to get open. And, you know, the restaurant community is one of the hardest working communities out there. And they thrive on being busy. They thrive on being part of a community. I think that when we have public officials that are in doubt and are provided the highest level of information, it's hard for anybody from a small business perspective to feel good or bad about making a decision like that. There are going to be spikes when we reopen. There are going to be exposure levels that we can't control, you know. Whether somebody says we're opening up May 18th or June 1st or January 1st, none of it matters. There's going to be these challenges that we face. I think the best thing that restaurants can do is appeal directly to their consumer base. And that's what I've been telling my clients. You know, before some of my clients opened, I told them to write a letter and post it on their town's Facebook page and say, hey, listen, I'm thinking of opening. Are you comfortable with this? This is what I plan on doing. What do you think? We live in a society right now where social media gives these small businesses a lot of power, you know, so that's how we approached it. And we've approached it every step of the way of trying to feel what the community thinks about the choices that we're making. And I think it's different for everybody. There's this huge debate going on in the news cycle of he said, she said, governor, mayor, I don't care, alderman, town manager, whatever you want to say. At the end of the day, none of this matters. It's important that the restaurant themselves appeal directly to the customers and the customers voice their feelings. Like if a customer is like, I will not feel comfortable coming back to your restaurant for 3 months, but I can support you in this way. Or I feel comfortable coming into your restaurant, and despite what the state regulations are, I feel like you need to do this. Some of that due diligence work has to be listened to and actually action on the side of the restaurant.
Oh, thank you, JP, so much for that. That's a really great perspective. Thank you so much. I know things are tough. I know the restaurant industry is hurting right now. I think we all want to do our part. I think we all want to get out and, you know, do that curbside pickup if we can, order that beer to go if we can, which, hey, that's a first in the U.S. It's been a long time since we've been able to do that, which is also exciting. Thank you so much. That's Image Unlimited Communications. I want to apologize for misspoke earlier about that, JP. I know you are all you're the owner of Image Unlimited Communications. Thank you so much. Check out his Instagram page to see that incredible story about the onion farmer. I watched it the other day. It was the fields and fields of onions that are just going. I mean, I don't want to eat it raw, but I love cooking with onions, and it was heartbreaking to see.
Yeah, it is really wild just how fast, in some ways, the world has changed. I think that's one of the things that if you feel a little anxiety or you feel a sense of fear about what's going on right now, it's because everything's been flipped on its head. I mean, from what we were doing 8 weeks ago, the world's 180 degrees different. And that's going to be tough, I think, for some people to just say, hey, I'm going to go back. I'll tell you this, when they open my local bar or Milo, whatever, I'm going back. But I think it's going to be hard for some people who are really off balance right now to accept that it's okay to do that.
Yeah, I think, kind of circle back with Billy and JP, I do think the other side of this is going to look very different. I think people are going to want a sense of security, whether it's through hand sanitizer stations or, whatever that's going to look like. I think the restaurant experience on the other side of this is very different.
Well, let me say this. I think you're right, unfortunately. The problem is that government has positioned itself to be your mommy. And right now, your mommy told you to go to your room because it's not safe out here, and you're waiting for your mommy to tell you to come out because it's okay. And in reality, they're not your mommy, so it's going to be really hard to take that advice. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Go ahead. Look, I'm not stopping you. Go ahead.
I let that one lie.
If you think I'm wrong, you can say it. But you weren't safe before.
I don't.
You weren't safe in January. You're not going to be safe in July. Life is unsafe.
An antibody test, I think, would be very interesting to have if we could, see who already has it, who had it already.
I'm dying for it.
Because
New York has started their testing already.
I think that could be a game changer in the sense of level setting everyone's expectations and moving forward. If it turns out that half of us had this last year or half of us had this already for so long, that then it isn't such a big deal and that we are overreacting a little bit. I don't know. People are dying, though. That's the hard part. And you have to weigh, how much does a life cost? How much does it weigh? How much, as a governor, how much do you have to say, I'm doing all I can to save lives no matter what? Barry's argument is there's a cost to it, right? Businesses are going out of business. People are losing their livelihoods. Right. But how do you weigh that? If you're a public official elected, how do you weigh saving someone's life or someone losing their job?
The problem is I don't think you should weigh it. Government's job is not to balance that sheet. It's just not. Now, there are times when the greater good has to be taken into consideration. And obviously, if somebody's house catches on fire, we put it out. But in this case, you can't choose between a person's livelihood or their free movement and this other person's safety. Somebody will always lose.
Go ahead, Dan. What were you going to say?
No, I got nothing. I was actually going to take his side and talk me right out of it, so I'm good.
Well, hey, listen, I got one more thing, uncontroversial, that I want to get to before we're done here today. I was really excited about this last night.
Oh.
Yeah, did you see the news? The truth may be out there.
I see what you're saying.
Right?
I see what you're saying.
The truth may be out there. We saw last night the Pentagon declassifying information that showed videos and photos of UFOs. Is this the government acknowledging it?
Can we just start by saying UFO does not necessarily mean alien life. UFO means unidentifiable. So whether it's aliens or some Chinese military aircraft or the Russians created some new high thing that we don't know about, that's still a UFO, right?
It is right, an unidentified flying object. Right?
Yes, correct. So nobody is saying flat out that this is an alien. We've been invaded. And by the way, I think these videos are from 2004, so this has been a while.
Well, they've been classified, right?
They've been classified. They were declassified 2015. A few videos have leaked out. Pentagon has sort of put this out there saying, listen, we're being a little bit transparent about this. We don't want people thinking that this is an actual UFO in the sense that aliens and little green men. We are saying we don't know exactly what it was. So you can judge for yourself. Here's the video. Do I wish it was aliens? Yes. But it's a little bit of a far-fetched to think that.
Wait, but before we do this, we take a poll here. Who thinks they were aliens, as in aliens? I'm going to say I think they were aliens and not Chinese people. Barry, what's your vote?
I believe that they were not aliens, and no, excuse me, they are aliens, not the Chinese spreading the virus. I think they are aliens.
What? You just went to controversy. This was just about UFO. All of a sudden,
sorry.
Spreading
sorry.
COVID
I'm
through
sorry.
these
I
things?
didn't bring up China.
It could be a Chinese aircraft that we don't know about, top secret, or a Russian.
Okay, what's your gut tell you? What does your gut say?
My gut says it's not aliens.
Really?
Come on.
No. They're not going to be that. The aliens are far smarter than to be traveling around low to the ground for our radar to see. And I would imagine if they could do interstellar travel, that they have ways of not being seen by our rudimentary satellites and RF and ultra bullcrap ways of detecting things. We are very primitive.
Would it surprise you? At this point in 2020, would it surprise you if we just had first contact and got it over with?
Yes.
Really?
Wait.
I'm actually excited about it.
I would love it.
Suck me up by my chest.
But it's never gonna. It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen in our lifetime. I'll tell you that much. If that's what
first
you mean.
contact, not happening.
It's not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. We're still killing each other with sticks and stones. So it's not gonna happen. Somebody comes by.
Marginal effect.
They come by, look at us, and go, "Holy crap! These people, they get a flu from pigs and bats, and it kills half of their population. They can't figure anything out." Move on.
Dan, what do you think?
They're aliens among us. I don't know if you've seen They Live, but we need Roddy Piper to walk around with his glasses right now because they're among us.
Well, that's a different question.
I think Charlie Baker might be one of them.
Oh, geez.
Oh, sorry.
Thank God, this is more my wheelhouse than COVID-19. Do we feel that there are aliens in the known universe, that they do exist? We're no flat earthers here. We don't think that we are the center of the universe, right? That life exists out there, right? We all agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank God. But we agree on something.
Let's real quick. I want to bring this one home. This is what the little segment of the show that we call "Calling Your Ride Home." After your daily shot, you got to get a ride home. Do aliens exist? Dan, give me your take on what they are.
Oh, dude, they are. They're short. They're green. They're incredibly skinny. They are directly from Area 51 because that happened, and there is evidence to prove it. I'm 100% confident in that, and we will have first contact before the end of my life, which may be sooner than most people.
Okay. Cam.
You're saying Roswell happened? Is that what you're saying? Roswell? Did that happen?
100%. 100%.
I see. Okay. Great. Aliens do exist. They are not here at the moment. They may have passed by. I'm going to say no.
Wow.
Aliens have not
We
been.
could do a whole show on this, by the way. We could keep this
I would
going.
love to. But no, I don't think.
Imagine the calls.
I don't think if you have the means to fly a ship to visit, you have means of looking at us without flying a ship to visit. Is sort of my point. So
you're like a weird Mulder-Scully hybrid.
I think we've been scanned. I think other higher forms of intelligence might know that we exist. But again, if we can't even leave our solar system, they don't care about us.
Okay, 1 minute left in the show. I actually kind of agree with both of you, but I'm a little more Dan. I think that they're out there. I think they're interested in us. And I think first contact, frankly, the way that 2020 is going, listen, Donald Trump's the president of the United States, okay? Nothing's off the table. Nothing is off the table.
First of all, hold on. We got 10 seconds here. Why did you say that interested in us? Real quick.
Why do I think because the same reason we're interested in anything else. Because every life form has a natural curiosity about other ones.
I mean, we're barely interested in ants, and we're far superior than ants. But like that's sort of like the juxtaposition. These aliens do not care about us because
Far
we're no
might be
different.
an overstatement.
Yeah, go ahead.
At Daily Shot Talks on Twitter. Find us on YouTube, the Daily Shot Media channel. We're on Blog Talk Radio. We're on Facebook. We'll be back Friday at 3 o'clock live. Be here.
Peace.